Today we are going to make a storage bench with a leather cushion. To begin the construction of the box, I started by cutting my 2x8 using my compound miter saw. I used the first piece to measure out all of my cuts to make sure they were all the same. For the bottom part of the box, I ripped a strip of plywood using my circular saw. I then cut the plywood to the appropriate lengths. I cut 2x4s to serve as supports for the inside of the box. For this next step, I used my orbital sander to sand down all my pieces. I really took my time on this step to break down the edges and smooth out the surface. Using a rag, I made sure all of the pieces were sawdust free, and then I finished off the wood with a coat of minwax polyacrylic. To ensure that there aren't any splitting while I assemble the box, I pre-drilled all my holes. Now I know that the side panels are going to be drilled into a 2x4, so what I did was basically use a 2x4 as a spacer. I also drilled pilot holes into my 2x4s just in case. For this step, all I'm doing is gluing and screwing the 2x4 onto the panels to create the front and the back. Attaching the side of the box was pretty straightforward. I basically just propped it up against the 2x4 and screwed it in place. Now, there is never really one way to do anything, so I'm sure there's multiple ways to assemble this box, but this way worked out just fine for me. I was pretty much assembling this box as I was going, so there isn't really a real plan to it, but as I was going, I figured that this was the best time for the bottom panel to be screwed in. To finish off the box, I applied some glue and screwed in the back panel. I had some leftover 2x4 from cutting the supports, so I decided to make some feet for the bottom of the box. I made my cushion out of a piece of 1-inch foam. The stuff is pretty easy to cut, I just use an X-Acto knife. Now this part is totally optional, and it might be actually a little extra too, but I wanted my cushion to be foam all over. So basically, I just cut a piece of plywood that was half an inch smaller on all sides, and then I filled that space with pieces of foam. Once I had all my pieces cut, I used spray adhesive to glue all the pieces together. This spray adhesive is great because it works on a lot of different materials. I decided to use leather for my cushion, but feel free to use whatever you have at hand. I purchased my leather at a place called Tandy Leather. They have a great website. Be sure to check them out. I'll leave the link in the description below. Now, when I was doing this, I really wanted the leather to be taut, so I pulled on the second side pretty hard before stapling it onto the plywood. Depending on the material that you are using, you may need to trim away some bulk for a cleaner fold. So unfortunately, I actually ran out of staples, but thanks to the power of improvising, I actually figured out a way to screw in the leather onto the plywood. To attach the insert onto the cushion, I first started by adding some hot glue to temporarily hold the two pieces together. At this point, it helps to put something heavy, or you could put your entire weight on it like I did, to make sure the two pieces are stuck together. Once I had the lid flipped over, I drove screws into the plywood to secure it in place. Because this box was mainly constructed of 2x8s and 2x4s, it was very inexpensive to make. I also love how this box can double as two products. For more detailed instructions, visit our website. And if you want to see what I'm working on next, feel free to follow me on Instagram. Check out some of our other woodworking videos, and please subscribe if you haven't already. As always, thanks for watching.